Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship for StarCraft 2. Let's hear you. Time now to move on to our second quarterfinal after a terrific first match from CJ Enters Hero. This one is going to be a cracker as well. Our first player is a player who rose to prominence last year in WCS Korea Season 3. He is the WCS Korea Season 3 champion from Mouse. It's Dia. And in a clash of champions from WCS America, the reigning champion from Season 3 and Season 2, please make some noise for CM Storm Polt. And players will now move to the map vetoes. It's time to go back to our analysis desk with In Control.
Thank you very much there, Red Eye, and welcome here to the analysis desk once again. Hello, boys. I've lost a little bit of weight. I've lost a little bit of muscle mass. And I've cut my hair. In Control, second here. All right, map vetoes. So let's just talk about these two players as you can see on screen. First of all, what do you think and who you think is going to win?
Polt.
Yeah,
to be honest,
right.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard. I think both these guys can make a case for being the best PvT player and the best TVP player. So, but
Really?
I'll go with Deer.
I think that Deer is the best PvT player.
I think he's up there. Wouldn't you say?
Okay, in my opinion, Deer came into this tournament as one of the guys that I didn't think would go super far, maybe win one match, probably not two. And I still kind of think that, but he beat our last Intel Extreme Masters champion, and quite convincingly, might I add. So how well does he do versus Stan right now? I guess we're gonna find out in a moment here, but he could be doing very well. If he's back to his old form, he actually has a serious shot at taking out Polt. But Polt was so impressive in Cologne as well. That well, he's the Protoss killer after all.
He is the Protoss killer. This is a best of 5. We have Polar Knight removed from Polt, Altazim removed from Dia, and now we'll be going into the map order. It still is a best of 5 here. How do you think this is going to play out, especially knowing there's two styles? We've got Deer, who is a very straight-up, very reactionary Protoss player, and we've got Polt, very aggressive, likes to do a lot of split pushes, lots of drop all over the place. Heavy Rain, what do you think about the starting map here?
Well, it's interesting because just a couple of weeks ago in Cologne, before the Mothership Core Vision nerf, Polt was favoring a lot of 3 barracks openings with heavy Marauder Marine openings and then pressuring.
Yep.
But I feel like this series will also be a good point to see like just how much the metagame has shifted and how much different Protoss players are going to approach the matchup. And I would be surprised to see more than 3 games with a Blink opening. I think we're going to see more Oracle plays from Deer and a lot less Blink than we used to.
All right. Deer is also a guy who's meticulous with his builds from start to finish. He works on them a lot. He's one of those guys with SOS who really brought new styles into play and who used stuff that now everybody's using. So does he bring something new to the table? I think there's a good chance we're going to see some bunch of Blink play plus Colossus. And I know I've said that for Teja and Stardust and it wasn't true, but I do think that here we're going to have a lot more of a textbook standard PvT.
All right, well, Dia, as Red Eye mentioned on stage, Season 3 champion, Season 3 finals champion, and at that point was on top of the world, was going into BlizzCon as an expected potential champion of the entire thing. Things slowed down a little bit for him after he joined Mouse Sports, but is it safe to say that this guy's getting the results that he had back then when he was performing so well once again?
I strongly feel like it's taken a while for him to get warmed up again, but I feel like he is gaining momentum once again. And I feel like he's meant to be one of the Protoss champions of this year. I'm not sure if it's going to be this tournament, but he's looking very good in all his games so far. And I personally feel like I look at Deer the same way now as I did at the end of last year, where he played so solid and he makes almost no mistakes and his micro is always spot on.
And Todd, how would you describe Deer for people that don't really know who he is in a couple of words, couple of sentences?
A genius Protoss who has sick builds and good execution. I'm about to make this very long, but one of the things that I feel is important to mention from yesterday is that he was gaining early leads And then from the middle of the game, at least in PvP, it was looking like he was starting to make mistakes. His early game was his strongest suit, at least in mirror.
Yeah.
Now, how is that going to go against a Terran? Where Polt is also a very good player early on in the game, with his 3 barrack style.
Well, here is Polt playing for CM Storm, is the back-to-back reigning WCS America champion. And I think there's a big argument out there to make. A lot of people are saying this guy's the best Terran in the world. You agree or disagree with this, that a lot of people are going around?
I disagree, but he can change my mind at this tournament.
Then who would you say is the best Terran? You're about to make a lot of people mad, so...
He seems to be on
Do you
form.
want to go back on what you just said?
I mean, if you look at his
I still
International
like
Masters
innovation.
performance, Cologne, second place, going through Classic, going through Rain. These are players that nobody thought Polt would even come close to beating at that point. He went through, unfortunately, narrowly missing out against Liquid Hero.
I think, do you think he's better than Maru right now?
Maru's pretty good. I think Maru, Teja, Polt, my top 3. Innovation's pretty high up there too, but Polt's, it's hard to say because like they don't necessarily play the same players, but if you think about it, for example, Innovation, he lost 0-3 to Hero, and Polt had some really good games against him, and he beat very, very strong players there. So I would say Polt right now. Top 3, maybe even top 2 for me.
And unfortunately, we haven't really seen Polt yet with his walkover against Naniwa. What is he going to bring to this tournament? Because we just haven't seen yet. But let's take a look at the community's predictions on who they think is going to be able to win this. And I was going to say, I think it might be Polt. Polt, a massive fan favorite. The crowd out in the audience here are very, very much so behind Polt. You think those percentages are based on reality here and what we could see? 76% favorite to Polt?
A little bit skewed, I would say. Tiny bit, but you know, I think it's very close to 50-50. But it's nice to see that people appreciate Polt for everything he's done in the last 3 years. And he was a champion already in 2011. And here he is once again fighting for the title.
Of course, Artosis say Deer. Why would
Artosis has chosen Deer. Everyone else has gone for Polt. The viewers, the community, and all the casters here, apart from Artosis.
Look at him adjusting his tie, thinking he's so
This
smart.
is the true test of Artosis right now. Is he right or is he wrong? And I think he's going to be wrong. But we will see. We will see. So, a best of 5 between these two players. Our second quarterfinal of the day. Who's going to move on? And who is going out of the tournament here? Let's pass it over to our commentary team for this. It is In Control and Artie McTosis.
Thank you so much, Apollo. Protoss, good unit. I think
You play Protoss. You can't pull the Protoss card.
Of course I can. I play
Well, that's
Protoss.
true. We always can,
I'm the
yeah.
one that can.
You actually pull it on a regular basis as like even in your free time, you pull it, basically.
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
I'm always pulling it because Protoss is a strong race, and Deer is a very strong player. So I think this is going to be a really great match overall. I think it's going to be pretty close.
I am thrilled. I think they hit the nail on the head when they said that it might be a little bit skewed. I do not think of Polt as the 76% favorite. Like, there's no way that's real.
No.
Polt is exciting. He's awesome. He's been a little bit more of a part of the non-Korean scene for a while, so I guess he's garnered a lot of fans. But Deer, this is your BlizzCon champion. This is a guy that, even when he lost to Hyun in that open bracket, he looked better losing than most people do winning. He's actually so good.
That is the fact. So our first map, going to be Heavy Rain. We'll be getting in there in just a moment. Thank you all for coming down today. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. This audience has been amazing. This is my chance to sit here at the Cash Desk and gush about this. But guys, the hype is real. Poland has been absolutely incredible. We've had an awesome stay here. They're literally to the roof. There's people jumping up and down. Just an amazing show. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Getting inside this, though, let's talk a little bit about, Heavy Rain. PVT on here. It's been a map that a lot of the Terrans have led the charge on. This is where the blink all-in has been a big problem. Do you see that as a strategy here, or where do you think Deer takes this?
You know what? I do quite like blink play on this map, but what I like is just like making the blink play, but not going all the way with it.
Even expanding behind it and stuff like that?
I mean, you force a few bunkers and make a third Nexus, and I think that's a pretty cool play.
Yeah, that's actually, like a lot of times when this is discussed, it's not actually the kill potential necessarily by itself with the blink all-in that I find to be super persuasive in the argument that it might be too powerful. I instead find that Terrans have a really, with that blink, you're not going to get a Reaper out, at least not after the early game. You're not going to be out on the map scouting with the medevacs or anything like that. So if they do expand behind, if they triple Nexus, if they're going a completely different tech route, you're not really sure. And if you underestimate the potential of those blink stalkers, that's when all 20 of them blink up and do actually kill you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is something that Deer definitely can use to his advantage here. And there's some other things as well that I think that Deer can use to his advantage, Jeff.
Sure.
Is, for instance, Polt goes for Reaper basically every single game against Protoss. He is a Reaper guy. So that's definitely something that you can go ahead and try to abuse. We did see Nano on that one game try to abuse something like that with the proxy gate. But that could be something that Deer keeps in mind, because if he does try to go for any sort of kind of tricky, techie all-in, that's something that Polt likely is going to be able to scout.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the ball is in the court of Deer to kind of dictate the pace of this matchup in terms of where we're going to go, aggressive, defensive, or passive. Well, I guess it's kind of defensive anyways, but Polt is one of those players that falls into the rhythm of being kind of like a 4GG in the sense that he doesn't have 15 builds that he cycles through. He only has 1 or 2 per matchup that he likes to do. He's very formulaic that way. Whether or not Deer is like hyper aware of that or will adapt to it in this best of 5 remains to be seen. But Polt finds his strength in the TVP between the sweet spot from like 12 minutes to 22.
Yeah.
This guy pre-Ghost, he's not super big on the Ghost play. Of course he'll do that like every Terran. But I've seen this guy split his army up into 3 different fragments, usually some kind of drop in the main, something frontal pressure, and then even another drop, usually from the rally back at home. And he's just all over the place with that multitask. And I've seen him pick apart the absolute best Protoss on the planet. So
no question.
Deer is one of those guys. It is one of the best Protoss on the planet. It's a question of whether or not he can endure the storm.
Well, you know, I think he can. He showed us so much of that last year, and I think that he can show some more here as well. He wasn't ever someone that really relied on things like the blink all-in. So even with recent Protoss nerfs coming in, I think he's going to be completely fine. You know,
what do you think, real quick, about the mothership reduction in vision?
I think it's good. The unit is kind of ridiculous. You know, it could just do anything and everything. So I think the game is getting into a much better spot right now.
Absolutely.
And you know, I know that there's like a lot of Polt hype because he was still winning TVP when it was a little bit harder before the patch. But we can't forget about Deer. Yes, he had a couple weak showings, but recently he's been fantastic. And I tell you what. At the end of last year, there's no one that would have, well, not no one, but the percentages would have been swapped if you asked who's going to win Polt versus Deer. It's just that more recently, Polt had one really strong tournament than Deer did. So I think everyone is really underestimating Deer here.
StarCraft 2 is one of those games I feel like where it's very momentum-based. If you're a guy who's just been stringing together wins and you have the confidence, you have the swagger, and a lot of people go into a match feeling like the underdog against you, I feel like that pays dividends towards your success. And I certainly agree with you. Last year, that was a big deal with Deer. He was one of the absolute favorites going into that BlizzCon. He's kind of always been a quiet Protoss. You know, he's not one of those guys that gives flashy interviews or says stuff on Twitter. He's more of a guy that just plays with his pad, so to speak.
No, seriously, that's the reason why we know who he is and why he's becoming famous is just skill. Whereas Polt, of course, he has ridiculous skill, but at the same time, he gives great interviews in English. He's a really cool guy, really funny. You know, all those things build him up. So in a way that speaks higher of Deer's play, that he's maybe not as famous or as much of a fan favorite, but still so beloved.
Dude, that's such a good point, because StarCraft 2's continuous success is such a fleeting thing. It's so hard to string together major tournament wins or having a presence when there's so many good players out there, yet Deer has done that, because that's, again, a big part of the reason why we know about him here. We have Polt pulling in, scouting, sees the one pylon, sees, I believe, 2 out of 3 on one gas, and then 3 out of 3 on the other. Now, what I like about these pylon placements, and Polt pulls out, he could be thinking proxy Oracle right now.
Oh, yes, he absolutely could. He didn't see all the pylons, but we do have a Reaper coming up, and that SCV is still in here, so it looks like he should be able to see this blink, or rather this Twilight Council.
I don't know that he did. He did not.
No, he hasn't yet.
Okay.
And actually, you know, I love the new building placements that we're seeing from all Protoss players to really abuse that Reaper and saying, hey, you want to really see over here? You're probably going to die.
You know, Polt did not see a Mothership Core. He's pulling into the natural. He does not see a Nexus. This one Stalker doing a fantastic job of shadow boxing him out of the base. But I'll tell you what, we talked about this before the game. This blink play is fairly predictable. But with the information given, equally as predictable is Proxy Oracle. So let's see if Polt has that reaction. He's already starting to leave some of his Marine inside space, even with a bunker Artosis. I think he's been duped.
You know what? He's making 2 bunkers right now, and well, we do have Blink on the way as well as a Nexus.
Oh, there you go.
I wonder how this is going to end up going down. Look at this Polt actually going straight up to a factory from here as well.
Widowmine, I think, is a great answer to Oracle and potentially Blinkstalker as well. So I feel like this is walking that middle line really nicely because, again, the Widowmines, yes, you can blink away from them, but if you make a mistake and perhaps blink on top of them that you didn't see or something like that, they can do devastating damage because speaking of buffs and nerfs, the Widowmine, of course, shield damage, so it's a powerful tool.
Well, right now we do have a probe trying to sneak up this side, and that could help give something away here for Polt.
Yeah.
You know, to see a probe with minerals in its mouth going up the side of the map like that. You know, if I look at that as a Terran player, I probably think that was going to make a pylon somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point in time, too, without having seen an Oracle pop into his base of any kind, really, he has to be narrowing it down to, well, this is starting to feel like a Blink game. That being said, though, he is going up to Starport, which is a nice kind of countermeasure. If it is Oracle or Blink, you can just drop off a couple of Widow Mines in the backfield and really disrupt that mining. But also, equally, they're great defensively. And there is that pylon being placed against the Reaper. It sees this. And that placement, it screams gateway of some sort and probably Blink.
I don't think he's proxying Oracle right now, so probably that's going to be for Warpins. But that means that Polt can start to get ready. The thing is, he doesn't have a lot of racks or anything, and now he's seen Blink, he knows what's coming, and he's really going to have to rely on a very small amount of Marines, but also some Widow Mines.
Yeah, and he did end up salvaging that bunker, so he's remaking it. He's already, I mean, he knows what he's facing. You know what? The second bunker at the front of the base, he's basically saying, I'm going to hold this. And I'll tell you what, Artosis, because of that Nexus, I feel like that's not necessarily a terrible read. I feel like if you were to do the panicky, oh God, I can't hold my natural, pick it up and leave, he's just dead. As it is, this is going to be a tough hold, though. It
is for sure going to be a tough hold. Now, we do see Deer coming up right now, attacking this bunker, takes it out before SCV's getting up there, and he's taking out a lot of Marines. You cannot fight one-on-one Marine versus Stalker.
No, and he only has the one medevac as well. There's that Widow Mine on the high ground, though, and I'll tell you what, that Widow Mine says, blink up here, please. But it looks like Deer's not going to be duped that easily. He's going to pull into the main, and there's just the one bunker with one Marine. That's hardly any damage at all.
No, seriously. But he is flanked by Widow Mine, so there's a possibility he walks into them, and that helps out Polt. But Polt just doesn't have many units. He's really teched up quite greedily here.
He's trying to push off with what he has, still with just the one medevac, though, because that Starport does not even have a react. He actually gets the Mothership Core, which means there's not going to be any high ground spotting, and with that final Stalker blinking down, the day and time of him blinking up there is over, but 16 workers killed.
16 workers.
Damage is done so far.
Yeah, this has already been really, really nice for him, and he's going to continue to move forward, picking off some more SCVs. The 3 near the bunker, and now going off after the bunker as well.
Yeah, he's just all over the place right now, and actually nice target fire by Polt, targeting down these red health Stalkers, trying to whittle down the numbers. And if you go back at home, actually, the good news, if you're in Polt camp right now, is that if he continues to survive this, with the medevac and the Bioforce growing in strength, there's not a huge amount of tech behind this. There's more Stalkers being added on, so Deer's investing in this tremendously.
He certainly is, but there's so few SCVs left at this point, and so many Blink Stalkers. Look at that, another bunker going down. There's so few Marines. I just don't think Polt can hold much longer.
No, Deer's at the point where it might be time to target down the units, and even picking up and leaving the natural. That just terrible situation is coming out where Polt basically says, I cannot hold the natural. He's going to try to hold the main base, but just the one bear, or no, excuse me, he does have the 3 bears. I missed those, but this is going to be a tough hold as it is anyways.
It certainly is. Now, he's trying to lure out any Widow Mine hits here with the Stalker. Nice blink away, and this is definitely not the beginning of the end, but maybe the end of the end.
Well, I think you're right. I think we skipped that hole at the beginning of it. That happened a while ago or something, and with no medevac, the Widow Mine on cooldown, and the CC even picked off. It looks like this is Deer's game. He's going to back away here. And if you look at that production tab, he is, of course, adding more probes. Now the gas is at the natural. So he will, it looks like, deal that blow and then back away. And I do believe we might have missed something. There's some Stalker.
Yeah, there was a Widow Mine drop there, but it only got 2 probes. So not the biggest of deals. But now he has the Observer out. He can take out Widow Mines. And one of the big deals here is 46 probes and 19 SCVs.
Yeah.
Deer can do anything and look like a genius from here.
Yeah, mules are good, but they're not that good, Artosis. He's going to pull up the ramp. He's even kind of working down on that Widow Mine, but mostly attacking both the Bioforce and this. Now still just with the one medevac, but the Marauders coming out, they're doing a good job here, and it looks like these weakened Stalkers should back away. They're daying, nope, improper use of that. They're not going to be harassing anymore. But building up from that 19 harvesters, and again, the CC was picked. If the CC survived, there's a glimmer of hope. I look at Polt and I say, all right, you know, double Mule, double SCV, okay. But right now he's making the choice, do I make Marines to live, or do I make a CC to live later? And right now he's choosing to live now.
He has to just do a one-base timing tech, right? Yeah. He has 3 racks and no economy, so that makes sense. But look at the tech that we're actually seeing here out of Deer. He's grabbing a Dark Shrine, and when you've killed the command center, when they have 1 command center, and so many SCVs died, you know they're not going to have enough scans to stop DTs. That is going to be unstoppable. If Polt tries to walk across the map, you just warp in DTs. How many scans can he possibly have?
And Artosis, the second phase of treachery that Polt is coming to grips with right now is, oh gosh, the second I leave my base, Deer just blinks up into it. I mean, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place like there's no tomorrow. He doesn't even want to afford the scan to kill this observer, which you can obviously see waving back and forth, giving that vision. And behind this, with the added extra weight of gates and this third base, Deer is applying more pressure than Polt's even aware of at this point in time.
Yes. Polt just has like no outs at this point, Jeff. I mean, what could Deer lose to? What could go right enough for Polt that he takes a victory here?
The only thing that Deer could lose to is if Polt got up out of his seat, went into the crowd, grabbed Hero, put him in his seat, and then Hero just somehow made it work again.
Hero made it work with Terran.
He could.
All right.
He's the only guy that could, though.
Perhaps. Well, we do have DTs starting to come in now. He does use a scan there, but losing more SCVs, losing more potential mules. This is about as bad as it gets. These Blink Stalkers continuing to pick off little amounts of units, and the supply differential continues to grow.
And it will. Polt did a really cool thing in the background there. He actually blocked the ramp with a couple of Marauders and Marines to buy himself enough time for that missile turret to finish. Kind of a cool little trick. He definitely is doing that thing where you're like playing super try hard when you're completely dead just to buy yourself time to calm down. But little things like that are pretty cool.
Indeed, and you know what? Maybe, just maybe, somehow Deer overcommits a bit or something. I mean, a Bio Ball is pretty strong. It has a lot of damage output.
Well, what I like about that is Deer's playing really cool to the situation. Again, it's worth noting. Oh gosh, you could get blinked under here. I agree with something you said earlier where Deer could do any tech and it looks brilliant, but I do like the choice to just go Mass Gateway, well-upgraded Charge Lot, Stalker, and Storm. There's not really a way that aren't, I mean, unless you just move commands into 15 mines or something like that, which isn't going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. But we do see this drop 4 medevacs worth over here, and he takes out the Mothership Core, but the Nexus skin does come off. Still, it looks like he should be able to kill possibly this Nexus.
Yeah, maybe. The upgrades are a bit of a tough spot here. Storm's just about to finish. It should finish. Yep, it does. And now a couple of Storms going to thin the herd here. Polt taking lots of damage, and he taps out.
It's the first time I've seen Polt not run immediately out from underneath the Storm.
Yeah. He was too occupied watching his main base die. So,
what did you think about that game? Because for me, what went wrong there is he did think that maybe that was a Proxy Oracle, like going up to Widow Mines and a medevac so quickly against a Blink Stalker build. That's kind of rough. You're just not going to have the units that you need to survive.
I actually just I mean, yes, I agree with you fully. He basically had to have thought that was a Proxy Oracle build because if it was absolutely anything else, he just did not have enough tools to deal with it. Like, this was still, let's not forget, this was a 1-gate expand with that Twilight Council, so this is not even the beefy of beefy versions of that Blink play from the beginning. If that was just a straight 1-base 4-gate Blink Stalker all in, he's just dead.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Doesn't stand a freaking chance. So, well, I think it was just a bad draw for him.
Yeah, you know, that does happen. Didn't quite get his scouting done. It was really good building placement from Deer as well. You definitely have to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
The zoning, as you said, the shadow boxing of that Stalker, a very important part of that game, because if the Reaper gets in and sees that, Polt puts up a bit of a better defense, but still, just his infrastructure was too small to really have much of a shot there.
And that game just completely, I mean, it just feels so Deery to me. You know, a really well-executed, very sharp build. It didn't bounce all over the place. It was very clear in its directive, and he executed it just so well. Yeah. And it was dominant. And when Deer hits his stride like that for a game number 1 in this best of 5, I fear for Polt. Polt, he strikes me as the guy that's a little bit more organic. He's got his builds for sure, but in the game, he's gonna make choices that can stray off that path. And if it doesn't benefit Polt, I feel weird. The word tilt comes out. I don't think he's tilted, but it could throw him off is what I want to say.
Yeah, it could throw him off, but he definitely is one of the least tilty players, I think, in the entire world. This guy keeps so calm and cool. It's like he's got everything going for him. You know, he goes to a good university. He's well loved, or used to. That's true.
Stop that.
That's true. Well, you know, you gotta sacrifice for StarCraft. If you don't sacrifice for StarCraft, it won't sacrifice for you.
School brought him into the United States, and then when it became time, he's like, screw school, I'm doing StarCraft again. I love that guy. He's doing great.
Yeah, he is.
So let's go ahead. I think we might have skipped this actually last time, but Artosis, would you like to introduce the players, please?
I certainly would. Up here in the top right of Yansu, make some noise for Mouse Deer.
Just gonna constantly make noise. Boom. There they are on camera. His opponents, trailing 0-1, the Terran player playing in WCS North America. It is CM Storm Polt. The fan favorite, down 0-1. Deer in dominant fashion takes that first game.
Yeah, that's it was quite dominant fashion, and starting up 1-0, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
That's what? How do you like this map though in PBT?
I really don't mind it.
Yeah?
I think it's fine. I like the fact that you can take your third, and it's a pretty defensible third, as opposed to like really stretching yourself out there. Of course, this is not a bad map for Terran either. There's a lot of cliffs and uprisings for drops. But I look at this map, and Yansu, not to the same extent as Heavy Rain, but this is a good blink map as well, and that puts the fear of God in the Terran players, I find. That's
true, and Polt's going to have to look out for that a little bit more this time. We'll see if he actually can get a Reaper in and scout around what exactly Deer is doing, but that's definitely going to be on the forefront of his mind.
Deer is so incredible. With one Stalker, by the way, he did not have a Mothership core. He just bounces the SCV out, and then also goes exactly to where the Reaper's coming, bounces that out, then immediately goes to where the Reaper's going to head over to the natural because he knew that was going to happen, and bounced him out there. It makes sense when we read it back and see it happening, but in game, guys, if you don't know, that's super hard to do. That's it's really awesome.
Well, I was saying this. I think I probably was talking to Paul because I talked to him a lot. But I was saying earlier, off camera, that I feel like Polt is a player that you can almost just blind counter because he's always going to do the right thing and the smart thing and the thing that you want him not to do. So if you just automatically counter that, it helps. And Deer is actually a player that's so good. I look at him as one of these players that plays even better against better opponents because of his builds. They expect you to be smart. They expect you to play right. And when you do that, he's going to maybe be able to counter you a little bit stronger in ways like what you just said with the Reaper.
Both these players are on the Idris short list of playing correctly and then being predictable for that. This SCV is going to pull in here, though. Does see a couple of pylons this time around, and just the 2 probes on each gas. That's the ambiguous Protoss start.
Well, he does have 3 on this right one again. So.
Oh, okay. So is he optimizing? Is the 16 on the... Let me take a look here. No. So he does that a little bit before 16 probes in the minerals.
And opens up with the exact same build order. But Polt does see that at least the gas is being mined the same. Everything looks pretty similar to what he saw before. But will he see this Twilight?
It's such a big deal, actually. He's going to the natural, and he's being duped a little bit here. This is, of course, not a Nexus attempt at all. He will get a probe kill, which is nice. But what's so critically important here, Artosis, is seeing whether or not it's Twilight Council or something like even an in-base Stargate is able to see a lot of times, and right now he has no idea.
You know what? I think he sold that a little bit, too. With the way the probe ran up to the north there, it felt like he was trying to get a Nexus, perhaps. But
trying to hide it.
But Polt is definitely doing a different build this time. He's adding on a couple more barracks, which is definitely going to be a bit better than the last build against Blink Stalker.
This is the better build. And also on this map, okay, there it is. The second probe actually heading to the natural. You'll also notice this Reaper should be successful in scouting. It's going to pull in here, sees a second Stalker. No, he's going to bow out, but too late. The range of that Stalker.
But
deny.
Don't you think that second probe was really late if he was going down to make a Nexus?
Yeah.
I could see Polt kind of sniffing that out and being like, hold on, this Nexus is a little bit later than I would expect.
Well, we do have that one base Blink Stalker play, Artos, that we were talking about. This is kind of this is playing a best of 5 really well, by the way, because that probe could have been late, and that does get sniffed out by Polt, or it could be kind of late because it was not planned. The first probe was the one that was supposed to build the Nexus. And actually, look at that. He builds the Nexus anyways.
All right. Well, you know what? He's got those 3 gates as well. And this is a really good fallback because a lot of information was garnered by that Reaper there. So if he just went completely all in, like added a 4th gate and just try to go for it, it may not end up winning. He just lose. But here, he can put on a lot of pressure, maybe just pick off some units. And even though his Nexus is a lot slower than the command center, still be in an okay spot.
Big moment here, Artosis. SCV sees a probe going mid-map, sees the Mothership Core and a Stalker. I really feel like if Polt has a chance at beating a player like Deer, he needs to be reading that information correctly right now. He needs to know that means Stalkers, and they're probably heavy blink.
He hasn't started any bunkers in the main base, and in fact, his Marines are placed as if this is an Oracle, so I'm a little bit nervous for Polt right now. I really feel like you're going to need a bunker against this.
And fortunately for him, there is a Nexus behind this, at least for right now, because again, if Deer had that huge force of Stalkers, they would have blinked in and done massive damage right now. But Mothership Core is going to back away. There's the blink forward. Marauder is targeted down first. There's a lot of Marines here, though. This might have been a mistake. Deer's in a lot of trouble, I feel like. His units that are critical at this point in time are getting shot right and left.
That's right. He actually blinked up there a little bit too quickly. I think he just didn't quite see how many units were back there because Polt really did hold them back. But here he goes. He's going up to this front bunker, trying to pick it off. Ooh, this isn't really going that well for him, though.
No, I feel like Polt's almost scared from game number one. He's not really committing to repairing that bunker. There's not a huge number of Stalkers behind that they need to be terrified about. He does end up pushing it back. The Natural's starting to get mined for both players here, but again, Polt being very timid there, and I feel like that's just reminiscent of game number one, the burning that he took from that.
Well, even so, I feel like Polt's now in a good position
Fantastic
here.
Position,
This is going to be a hard spot for Deer to come back from. He's down in the probe count, he's down in the army count, and as far as tech goes, he has nothing but blink. So as soon as there's some medevacs out, there's going to be an army that's ridiculously hard to kill coming out of Polt.
Yeah, this is that nightmare situation where you open up this way, and if you don't do critical economic damage, as you said, the Terran just kind of continues to go up there. We can see the reactor being out of the factory, Starport's nearing completion, and that's going to be the action spot for Polt. He should move out before that, but once those medevacs are out, he will be the big kid on the playground. And what's going to be the response from our Protoss player? I mean, behind this, we do see the Mothership Core has been remade. He does have a few sentries to go ahead and build up the energy to try and control the battle. But other than that, he's just basically using these Stalkers to try to create that fear. But every time Polt sees them, there's only the 5.
Yeah, and with that scan, seeing 3 sentries at home, a building robo, and a Mothership Core, I think he knows 100% this is not going over 5 Stalkers for now. So as soon as those medevacs are out, he can go up there and do a real dedicated attack.
Yeah, Polt's in fantastic position. I have to echo that sentiment from earlier. He's going to move out here. He's actually moving out just before the medevacs, and it's largely in part because of that scan that you just cited. I mean, if you see 3 sentries and just now the robo finishing, you're not worried about a tremendous amount of immortals or something like that, so he's pushing them around.
Well, he's picked off a Stalker there. Really not a lot of units out for Deer right now. He's really going to have to fight to stay in it at the moment, but there is the possibility that he stabilizes and bring the game longer.
Yeah, and with Deer's control, I guess almost anything is possible if he does stabilize. We see that Robo Bay about to finish, so he will try to squeeze out one final, excuse me, not one final, but the first Colossus, which would be the beginning to his defense of this pressure. But this, again, I have to stress this is Polt's sweet spot. He is so at home between this moment and about 10 minutes from now. This is where he is his strongest, I feel. Well,
this is the part where Deer really has to do well. He does stim and start hitting those Stalkers. They do blink away. But with the Mothership Core, it has a decent amount of energy. Does,
yeah,
kind of okay force fields.
Yeah,
not the best, not the worst.
With that photon overcharge, I mean, again, Polt's not just rallying across the map right now. He's poised to take a third. There it is. So he's doing this kind of more economic harass. Those force fields were fine, you know, picking off a segment of that army, getting one of the Marauders down. We did see Deer have to warp in a few more Stalkers, so he's up to 6 right now, which is, again, something he would prefer to probably not do. But right now, or at least at that point in time, Blink was what he had in his name in terms of defense. Second Colossus coming out as well. And with this third CC, again, Deer is getting close to stabilizing. It's not terribly off. Yes, he's behind in almost all facets, but not so much so that the game's just completely over.
Yeah, and you know what? On a map like Yonsu, he can fight back with Colossus tech. You know, on a more open map, it could be very difficult to take that third base, and it's still going to be difficult for him, but it's not completely undoable. It is something that, as he builds up his unit count, he can secure the base, he can continue to work on upgrades, and eventually fight back to a point where his army can take one good battle, and suddenly he can be even or in the lead.
Combat shield and +1 finishing for the Terran player Polt. He's going to push forward once more. Just the one Colossus. Actually, there should be one in the main. Yes, there is. Strangely enough, with the sentries, I don't think that was the best army of splits, but okay, he's going to be okay for now.
A little bit backwards there.
Yeah, you want to have those at the front line. Second Starport being made, though. Polt sees that, okay, you are committed to this Colossus tech, which does mean I'm going to go ahead and start adding in more Vikings and even medevacs, just continue as the game goes on. But again, Polt in such a great position, and Yonsu, again, you keep talking about how this is a good map for Colossus to come back on. I do believe you are correct. It's not the widest of maps, medium size, so if he does take one big smashing, what's happening?
Hold on right now. We do have actually these Colossus being picked off, and Polt doesn't get any. Wow.
Yeah, really good pull back there from Deer. That could have been disastrous.
Yeah, I was really scared there for a moment.
Deer was incidentally shooting the factory, actually, which is exactly what Polt wanted. Going back at home, Polt only has the one Viking for right now. He's tearing down the rocks. I mean, this is definitely a 2-base timing attack with the gateways being added behind this. If Deer can do it, he's going to do it right now.
Well, you know what? There's 5 Vikings out, so it could be a bit hard because he's taking a lot of damage on these Colossus already, but he's keeping the most damaged one in the back. Very smart move. He does have some sentries here and a good amount of Blink Stalkers.
One of the Colossus does die to just... oh god, the last one's holding on just barely. It does end up dying, so that's a bunch of Blink Stalkers, and there's too much bio here. The medevac count is at 3.12, I'll call it, in that last medevac, and it looks like Deer is going to be pushed back home. And with that third CC mining and completed, it's probably all she wrote.
Yeah, that's just about it. He's going to continue to try to push forward. Well, he's going to have some really great Blink Stalker micro, but he already used his Blink to go forward, so a lot of these are going to end up dying off.
Polt just able to pull back, and with the medevacs healing up, Marauder's doing so much damage to these armored units. He only has a few Vikings, but that's all it takes because basically Deer cannot diversify his fire enough. Final couple of Stalkers are about to die, and again, supply advantage is being doubled. Polt's got this in the bag.
He certainly does. We should be seeing a GG from Deer coming up here pretty quickly, I would say. I mean, he's starting 2 more probes. He's starting another armor upgrade, but Polt is eventually going to walk across the map and force him out.
That is the most economic friendly manner muling I've ever seen, actually. Right there.
That's the right way to do it.
Get out of the game. We're all tied up, one apiece.
Indeed. And, you know, let's talk about this for a second, because you said something that I really liked. You said, this is a really good way to play a best of 5.
Yeah.
So why don't you extrapolate a bit on that? What do you think for this next game, if he wants to continue to play a really good best of 5, what is he looking to do?
Well, so far, Deer has opened up in a very similar fashion. He tried to change things up a little bit, where in game number 1, it was definitely a 1-gate expand post Twilight Council with that Blink. And then game number 2, it was looking to be the same thing, but he built the 2 gateways for a total of 3 before the Nexus. I feel like in his mind, the idea was to make a very similar opening, but change up the amount of Stalkers he faced at a time. But something he saw got him out of that. And I'm not sure what. That was the weird part for me, because he didn't... I mean, Protoss doesn't have scan, he didn't have an observer, there's no motion core there, but he felt something odd and he bowed out of it, and that ended up being, I don't know, probably the wrong choice.
I guess it was. You know, but I feel like the big mistake in that game was the blink up onto the high ground. I think that part of that, we're seeing this new patch in effect where he doesn't have full vision of exactly which units are back there, and Polt held back with those units. I actually thought it was a bit odd. I'm like, he's holding back pretty far with those units. You can only see really a Marauder and a few Marines right now, which would make that blink up perfect. It would be almost a game-winning blink up if the rest of the army isn't sitting right there.
That's a really good point. That moment was when the game changed. And I know that feeling too. I'm sure you've been there before. Your mothership core is getting chased back. You're at the corner. You're on that cliff with your blink stalkers. You're like, do I jump up there and ambush them? But again, with the limited vision, he didn't see, I guess, the full amount of units that were closing in on that mothership core. And while losing the mothership core would have sucked right there, what sucks even worse is jumping up with basically the only thing in your name, that group of stalkers, and losing 3 or 4 of them.
That's right. Well,
because even after he lost those 3 or 4, he still applied pressure to the bunker and almost got it, actually.
No, he did. It was kind of a sloppy attack. He just didn't have quite enough. But once you lose that many stalkers, that's a gigantic difference. You have to keep them alive. That's why you've gotten this blink upgrade.
But going back to your point, too, asking about the best of, I mean, we're at 1 apiece right now, a reset. It's essentially a best of 3 at this point in time. I still do like kind of the mental state that Deer has created for himself here, where he's shown a very similar opening. Now would be a kind of cool time to do something like, maybe you do just go for that hardcore 1-base blink all-in, or you open up very similar, but you actually do maybe perhaps a little bit more of a delayed Oracle. These are the options available to him because he's opened up so similar, but came out slightly different both times.
Yeah, I love play like that personally. I think that if you are planning a set of games, like a best of 5 or a few best of 3s or something like that, and you continue to open up looking very similar, but you're putting slightly different things out, whether that is, as you said before, a different amount of blink stalkers, or maybe in this game, it's the same looking opening, but it's actually an Oracle this time, you are really going to throw your opponent off. He's just not going to know what's going on. He's going to have to spend more in scouting. He's going to have to be more paranoid. And all those things really work in your favor.
And to give credit where credit's due, I do like Polt's second game build as well. And if you, again, look at the best of series as a whole, game number 1, he opens up very kind of toolbox utility. I've got a little bit of everything. Game number 2, 3 racks. He was going hardcore bio, which ended up being the right call. But that puts him on both sides of the spectrum for Deer as well. So he has to calculate those odds as well. He has to look at this and say, well, game number 1, I smashed Polt because I caught him doing too much.
Yep.
Game number 2, Polt had a crap ton of bio. I don't know that I like that against... I mean, to be honest with you, if he doesn't do any damage at all like we saw in game number 2, that opening from Polt wins 95% of the time I fight.
All right, so our next map is going to be Habitation Station. I want to ask you, what do you like here in PvT?
You know, this is a map that doesn't bother me so much, PvT. The gold base does come into play. If Terrans are aggressive as taking that as their third, it's interesting. Because if you're doing something like a Templar opening, you're going to put them in a really tough spot because you will get that third base for sure. Then it's just a question of can the Terran hold on to their natural. Or if you open up Colossus, that's once again a very tough base to defend. So it's very high risk reward in that way, and I like that. If the Terran takes the much more vanilla third just below their natural, I find that this map, really the only big feature that leaps out at me that is something to talk about that distinguishes it is it's kind of a smaller map. So one bad fight can get turned around pretty quickly and lead to a game-ending situation for either player.
It certainly can. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump into this game in just a moment. Tied up 1-1. It is now basically a best of 3. Could definitely go either way. I think they're both playing very, very well at the moment.
Yeah, that's actually one thing worth noting. It felt like in both games, the builds, which were both executed very, very well, kind of led to the very predictable winner from the beginning. It's not always that way in StarCraft 2, but when it is that way, oftentimes you're watching 2 masters play this game, and certainly both of them are grand masters. Grandest of the masters.
Indeed. Well, let's take a look at these players up here in the top left of the map. Make some noise for Mouse Sports Deer.
And his opponent tying up the game in game number 2. It is CM Storm Polt.
Bit more fan base for Polt out here in Poland.
He moved to Texas. I want to say before it was cool, but he moved over there slightly after it was cool. I think
is it cool to move to Texas?
To play StarCraft 2 as a Korean and do amazingly well. Yes, Violet, dude, this guy.
Yes,
he's in
that's
Korea,
true, but
he's not amazing in Korea, and it's not just because of the competition. Like, he still played in other things as well, and he wasn't a huge tournament winner. Moves to Texas, and then a couple months later, this is like one of the best Zerg players on the planet. Something about Texas does that.
Wow.
I don't know.
All right, well, I guess Texas had a lot of good gamers in the past as well.
Yeah.
Noni from Texas.
It might all trail back to Noni. Even Tasteless went to Texas and did okay. Isn't that where that was the WCG prelim that he did okay at, right?
Yeah.
It was Texas, I believe. God, if Texas can make Tasteless win StarCraft 2 games, or StarCraft games.
Oh my. Well, enough said about that. Let's take a look at these build orders.
Very different.
Well, it looks like a Reaper from Polt.
No, that part's the same. Polt's doing the same opening, but if you look over at Deer's build, this second gas is coming in quite a bit later.
Maybe just go for a fast expand?
Never. Yeah, it should be a 1-gate expand, absolutely.
Yeah, I would imagine. Otherwise, he'd be grabbing that by now.
The other option is, like, I guess he could be 4-gating, which would be absolutely bonkers, but...
Yeah, against Polt, who always goes Reaper, I very strongly doubt you're going to 4-gate. That would be one of the worst calls of all time. This is most certainly going to be a fast expansion.
I agree. This is kind of an older build. It's fallen out of circulation for the most part. But again, that's kind of what I like about a best of 5. It's deep enough in the format that it allows you to vary things up like this. Whereas in a best of 3, it's so shallow that it's like, no, you go for your 2 or 3 best builds. You don't dance around.
Yeah.
And then of course anything after best of 5 even just makes it even more possible to do different builds.
To bring back anachronistic builds is one of my favorite things in esports, really, especially StarCraft 2. There are so many different builds and so many different strategies that rotate out because people learn how to deal with them. But if you wait long enough and bring it back, it suddenly becomes very hard because the player has no current experience against it, and it's not in his mindset of possible builds.
Well, that is part of what has made StarCraft from Brood War to now such a gorgeous game, was that has always been true. Builds only fall out of grace, I guess sometimes because of balance, but usually because players just adapt to it. And we actually do have a Reaper here, by the way, killing 2 rogues.
That's like, Well, he sent the Mothership Core across. This is actually the most effective Reaper I have ever seen against Protoss.
Yeah.
Like, since people got good at this game. I can't even fathom that he lost that much mining time and 4 probes. But
really
we'll
weird.
see if he can make up for it with this Mothership Core.
There's 2 Marines down there just... Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say that. I mean, 2 is not enough to kill a Mothership
And now there's
Core,
4,
so
so now he's going to lose the Mothership Core.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Well, I mean, this has been a complete train wreck for Deer already, which is like, that doesn't normally happen like that, but this is reality for us in Control.
I do like that Deer has already planned to be behind and is just going to DT, though. He's like, you know what? This is all going really bad. I'm going to make a Dark Shrine. This is his best shot. He's way behind, guys. There's no question about it. He's way the hell behind.
You know what they say about being behind? The only way to get ahead is to kill all their SCVs with a DT.
And then win the game.
Yes.
Or to kill their bases. That's actually, if you read the objective in StarCraft 2, it's just to kill all the buildings.
Just to kill all the buildings?
Yeah, that's all you're supposed to do.
Oh, okay. It's not to kill their nexuses and then go /dance and drop mules until they leave the game.
Oh God, no. That's only jerks do that. My God.
It's quite a few of those.
You know, for the longest time, Protoss only had like 2 units to dance.
It was completely unfair.
Then they
I love
gave
the
us
Oracle
more units to dance,
though.
and all of a sudden we're winning everything now.
Yeah.
Is there a correlation? I think there is. All right. Polt's going to move across. This is honestly one of the worst things that could happen to Deer right now. He did lose that Mothership Core, so there's a reason why Polt's doing this. He's doing this because he knows he's not facing a Photon Overcharge. But he only has the Dark Shrine. He's building 2 more gateways. They're not even open yet. This could be a very anticlimactic game for him.
Yeah. Do you think a Sentry and a Stalker can stop this army?
I do not.
No? I don't
do
either.
not.
Well, he has 2 Stalkers, so how about that? This
now
is...
you're cooking with fire. If there was a chance.
Oh, man. This is about as bad as
and
it
now
could be.
he has to warp in a DT, not to defend. He's already so all in that it has to go across the map. But there's 2 CCs. There's no way in hell he doesn't have a scan.
He's got enough money for 1 DT right now. Oh, man. This is just, everything wrong this game in Control.
He's ready to, you know what? Forget this game. This is the mulligan. It happened in Game 3, which sucks, but he's done with this. There goes the DT here.
Yeah, no, this is... I have a lot to say about this game, and I'm actually very surprised and disturbed that this is the way that this game went.
Yeah.
We'll wait for a moment, though, while we watch the painful finish.
Right now, there's just a moment of silence going out for Deer.
He's killed 17 probes so far this game.
Yeah, and Deer's hanging on, because here comes the 1 DT. Technically, no.
Let's see, he has a turret almost finished. He has 1, 2, he has 3 scans.
We're done.
Well,
I wouldn't fault Deer to leave right now.
GG!
Oh, wait, he's pulling... oh, there's still a scan there, buddy. What do you... There you go.
Don't worry, he brought his Stalkers to sport.
To take the damage. All right, Deer's going to hold on again. This is... why not, you know?
Okay, so let me talk about this.
Do it.
This is really bugging me.
Okay.
Polt goes Reaper every game.
Okay.
Why would you ever plan a build against him in which a Reaper will get into your base, cause lost mining time, and kill 4 probes?
Really good point.
Right?
Basically, the only answer I can give is that very classic where I say, listen, a lot of times in the heat of battle, in the booths, when there's a gigantic Polish audience watching you and tens of thousands of people at home, you don't always make the best of choices.
I guess not. I think he probably overthought it as well.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, well, Polt can't possibly go Reaper every game. And I'm like, well, I mean, didn't you know you were going to play him? Didn't you watch the VODs last night? He does actually go every game.
When you yank him out of the booth and you ask him that question, he probably sheepishly grins and goes, yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah.
He knows better. It's just, it's not even a calculated mistake. It was just a decision that was poor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is... What is? How do we describe this? This is like Polt has already written the letter and put it in the envelope, and now all he has to do is bring it to the post office.
No, that's way too much of a step. He's written the email, and now all he has to do is click send.
Oh, okay.
Boom. He's gonna run in here. There's actually nothing to defend.
Actually, no. He already clicked send, and he's waiting for Deer to check his email.
And if Deer's anything like half the guys on EG, he'll actually never read that email. He's so bad at that.
Just people in esports in general are very bad at reading emails.
Get that email I sent you? No, it's weird. Then
I'm like, I have 230 unreads in my mailbox.
Yeah.
But,
and then your jaw just drops open because you realize you're talking to a child. Sometimes literally.
So we play games for a living.
That's game 3. Polt does take that. I do have to agree with Artosis. I think just a misjudgment from Deer. Because honestly, the Reaper didn't come anytime sooner. It came exactly the same time it's going to come every game ever.
Yeah, and to lose 4 probes, it's like you're not really supposed to lose even 1 probe to a Reaper, to be perfectly honest. Like, if you lose 1, I can forgive you. If you lose 2, it's already kind of a travesty, and you're like, oh, this is gross. But to lose 4 mining time and your mothership core that you're trying to counter harass with, like, obviously the reason it killed a lot is because you want to get the mothership core over there so quickly. Right. But the fact that on top of the Reaper doing so well, he lost the mothership core, so many unforgivable things.
Yeah, that was a rough game. Again, like I said, though, for Deer, he just has to write that off. That's the mulligan. Unfortunately, it puts him 1 game away from then losing this series, so you don't really have a game to give. But Deer is, I mean, again, he's a player that's so, when he's hitting his stride, he's so slick, he's so strong that he can't just grab control and 2-0 Polt. That is possible. It's not outside the possibility.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. I think he's going to stay cool and calm and collected. He's won enough tournaments. He's been in the spotlight enough.
That BlizzCon stage was incredible. The audience there was amazing as well.
It certainly was. Polt, of course, going to stay calm and continue to play his best. But the next map is going to be Frost. What are your thoughts on this map for Deer versus Polt?
It's a great map, PBT. We haven't seen it yet. I still, selfishly, whenever I see 2 fantastic players play, I'm hoping for 38 minutes of nonstop action, the full tech trees, everything. So far, we haven't seen that. It's still been exciting. The Blink play has been fun. This game number 3 was unfortunately a wrecking. But here we are in Frost, 4-player map, very large, defensible thirds, sure, but not like super defensible. It's a great map. I really hope we see the full breadth of their play.
Do you agree it's the best map in the pool?
Because for PBT, yes.
Almost everyone I talk to, overall I'm saying, do you think it's the best map? Because I think it is, and a lot of people I've talked to agree.
Because even as I think about it, like one of the ways you would not like a map is if Swarmos are super powerful on it. On Frost, not necessarily. Yeah. But they're also not completely obsolete like they're on Ulcer-Rim, where if you go Swarmos, you're being silly. But on Frost, they have function, but you can get around them too. So yeah, I think it's the best map.
All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and introduce these players. Down in the bottom left, he's down 1-2, has to show better play this game for sure. It is Mouse Deer.
And his opponent, the top right-hand side, hoping he can reap what he sows. It is Team Storm Polt. You didn't find that funny? That's okay, you're laughing.
That's cute. No, I gave you one of the nose laughs.
Oh, nice.
Like that.
Just enough so that it'll make me feel okay about myself, but also...
It makes you feel not bad or awkward,
I like
basically.
That.
And I'm like...
The polite thing. I do that all the time. Yeah. Oh my God.
Nose laughs, man. That's where it's at.
All right, so we're going to have that probe leave fairly early here.
Yeah, that is quite a quick scout, isn't it? Yeah. Is he going?
It's a 4-player map, so I guess he wants to find him pretty quick here.
Yeah. I actually personally like gateway scouts on a 4-player map. It's you're generally going to get in. Like, if he's the last spot, there could be a Marine out in time to stop the probe, but, you know, even seeing the Marine that early can kind of set you off to what might be coming, so...
And we do just have that 1 gas opening from Deer again, so I feel like it should be a 1-gate expand.
Yeah,
hopefully this is. I hope this is like the literal follow-up to the Mulligan game, where he's like, you know what, I like that build a lot. I'm gonna do it again, but this time I'm gonna leave the mothership core at home so I don't die to a single Reaper. You don't mothership core.
It's a 4-player map as well, so he could send out the mothership core, and if the Reaper goes to the wrong base first, he still has his stalker out in plenty of time.
By the way, guys, to give you an idea of how dedicated to Reapers Polt is, this would be the map where you wouldn't make a Reaper. It's a 4-player map. You could go CC first. It's not even great for hopping up into the main base. It's just not good for that. Yet here we are with that Reaper again. So that's how dedicated to Reapers he is.
Well, I think Polt thinks he can basically outplay anybody in this matchup. So,
as he should,
and that's always that's the measurement for me on what a Terran player thinks about his opponent most of the time. Does he go Reaper? And this counts for 2 different matchups. Where it's like, oh, okay, you go Reaper against the Zerg. You watch a Korean Terran against a foreign Zerg, and they're going to go Reaper almost every single time because they just want to make sure they don't get cheesed. And that's something that you can see in TVP as well, whereas you watch like maybe 2 of the very best in the world go up against each other, we might see a command center first.
Well, you said something earlier that I really feel like is a good point, and that's that Polt's been winning TVP before it was something that was considered possible. Like he's just always been good at the TVP matchup. And even right now, as we're kind of at the height of Protoss winning right now, they're doing so well that the tiers flow pretty freely all over the place. And even then, we look at this and the community agrees Polt is a 76% favorite to win the BlizzCon World Champion. My God, like this guy, is good at this matchup?
He's pretty fantastic, that's for sure. And I hope that he gets to show that in a longer game because, you know, not that the games have been all bad except for that last one, but, well, actually, even the first one was kind of a one-sided bopping, but...
It was.
I would like to see a nice long macro game out of these two because I think it would be just fantastic.
And Deer's playing to it. This is the first time where he's not going for a quick Twilight Council, so that is nice. The Forge obviously indicating his desire to push this to that at least mid-game. The nice thing about this Forge that I do like a lot, and we're seeing this definitely was more popular several months ago, but we're still seeing it now. You start that armor upgrade, and you don't have to chrono boost it. Because you start so early, your chrono boost can remain on probe production, which really jacks up your economy. I really like this opening.
Yeah, this is really cool, especially on such a big map, and your opponent has opened Reaper, which means he's not going to have some abnormally huge amount of units. And another cool part is that Polt this game is actually going for a quick Widow Mine and a Starport. So opening that Forge is 100% completely safe. And in fact, you know, we've seen last year a lot of builds come up because of the Widow Mine drops that were popular, such as a very fast Forge.
And to that point, Artosis, one of the things that was followed up by that again fell from grace because people aren't Widow Mine dropping nearly as much anymore, but again, I think that trend's going to turn now, is you would actually put a Photon Cannon in your mineral line, both at the natural and the main base, to really shut down that very predictable fast Widow Mine drop. Only recently did the patch kind of create impetus for Terran players to again add Widow Mine drop to their play. So right now, I'm not sure if we'll see the Photon Cannon from Deer, but give it a couple, not even a couple months, just give it a month when this becomes more popular. You're going to see more cannons and mineral lines.
Certainly. Nothing feels greater than having a mineral line cannon already there when a Widow Mine drop flies in, because you're like, you can literally go up to Colossus Tech, Blink, +1 off of one gate against a Widow Mine drop if you put a cannon in both lines. You just make 3 or 4 Stalkers in your Mothership Core and you are fine, and you're actually ahead from it.
And some people are even going crazy and adding a 3rd Nexus. I've seen Minigun do this a lot in his WCS practice, where he's cramming a Nexus in there in places you didn't think possible. But we have a lot of gateways getting charged up here. The Robo Bay is approaching about 60%, and that first Widow Mine's coming across the map. What I like about this from Polt, by the way, is you'll notice it's just 1 Widow Mine in there, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 2. No, just the 1. So he's not investing heavily in this. It's just basically, hey, if you're not prepared, you could lose a grip of probes.
It's actually an awesome move. I really do like this as well. So let's see if he can actually get something done. This is a very wide open back to his natural here. And will he move his probes? Oh, a very quick reaction.
Yeah. And even that can be viewed as a semi-victory for our Terran player. He gets the Photon Overcharge. Of course, as we can see here, he's not looking to apply any pressure immediately after that, so whether or not that'll actually impact the game, we don't know. But it does put Deer in a spot where he's like, oh gosh, I gotta be a little bit more careful with my second Photon Overcharge here. He just drops off the mine to the 3rd. Really nice play. In doing so, he felt him out pretty well too.
Certainly he did. And but what I really like about this position is both players are completely fine. They're going into macro games. They both made some nice moves early on. The kind of greedy move of grabbing the quick Forge, and then the little poke by Polt, which didn't do anything.
Right.
But this looks like it's going to actually develop into a macro game. At least I hope so. But he is adding some gateways.
He's adding the gateways, he's getting that blink, and we did see, I mean, in part he did that timing attack because he was behind and that was his best chance to win. But this is also a tendency that Korean Protosses have to just kind of go for that 2-base Colossus blink. With their control, if they can catch a Terran with a bad drop or a greedy opening or a too fast of a 3rd CC, they can just win the game flat out. And that's, of course, what Deer's going to aim to do because he's down 1-2 in his best of 5.
Well, he doesn't have any Thermal Lance started yet.
And no pylons. That was a probe out there, though.
Yeah.
So that, of course, can go start that. It's actually kind of funny that Polt didn't react more heavily to that. Okay, observer, he's got a couple of pylons out there. I was wrong. But
well, he does have
not
a few,
an attack position, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like this is actually going to be an attack. In fact, he's adding a 2nd Forge right now. And it looks like he's probably going to go ahead and make a 3rd Nexus here.
Yeah.
And the one thing I always get scared of, though, in Control is if you're going for Colossus play and you take kind of a late 3rd instead of the really quick greedy 3rd, we sometimes see SCV pulls.
Yeah.
And they sometimes kill everything because you went Blink Stalker Colossus and a late 3rd.
That is certainly one of the fears he's going to have here. A little bit of a poke back and forth between the Bioforce and the Stalker. Stalker's being very bold with that blink control of Deer. Of course, they're allowed that. Artos, I want to ask you another question, though. There's kind of a fork in the road in terms of tech. You either go 2nd Forge or you go faster Templar Archives for Storm. Where do you land on this? Where do you like Deer here?
I like the Templar Archives because if you can get that storm out before any possible SCV pulls, you're in great shape. And by the way, hold on, he's actually picking off quite a bit of Polt's army. Polt with a little bit of an overextension here.
Yeah, Polt was out there just trying to do his general harass. This is what he does every single time, but in doing so, he loses both the medevacs. I don't think he's in danger of dying right now because of that third Nexus and the second Forge. Like, certainly, Deer is not muscled up to go do that. But these little losses like that gives Deer the security to say, well, I'm probably not in danger of getting double dropped at my third while poked at the natural or something like that.
But, all right, let's go back and talk about what you were just saying. Do you go for the quicker Templar or do you go for the quicker second Forge? And in this type of case, when your opponent doesn't really look like they're going to be pulling all their SCVs and just going, the double Forge is going to be the stronger move because you're going to get your upgrades out quicker. You know, you're going to be able to get Sidestorm and then warp in a bunch of High Templars and have plenty of Sidestorms later on. So if you don't need that right away, these double Forges, like his upgrades, are going to get way ahead. Look at this. Polt right now is just finishing up his +1, and actually we're going to have 2-2 done before Polt has 1-1.
That's ugly.
Yeah,
and if he hits that timing attack, I mean, he's got charge coming in here as well. And he's adding more gateways. It's very likely that this is something that he's going to do. It should be 3 to 4 Colossus as well. Usually players will add a Templar Archive just before.
It's going to be 5 Colossus.
5 Colossus.
Okay. 5 Colossus here.
2? I don't know.
With Blink Stalkers, he's got 12 of them. He's got 3 Sentries with a good amount of energy. He's got that Mothership Core.
Here's what Polt's got to do. Cannot fight the army. He's got to use drop and the speed of his Bioforce to make it an indirect battle. He needs the Protoss to get caught mid-map while he's quad dropping the main or double dropping the expansions. He needs to indirectly fight this Protoss. If he goes toe-to-toe with him right now, 2-2 versus 1, gonna be 1-1, good night, Princess Polt.
Yeah, especially with these, I believe it's 9 gates, so he's gonna be able to continue to warp in, and in fact, he's going for a 6th Colossus. Is he actually attacking or not?
Hey, looks like he's not. He might just max up on this.
This is wild. He's going into 3-3, 6 Colossus. This is just something we don't see very often.
No.
This is like, what is it? Is this SOS or is this Deer? No, this is Deer.
This reminds me of that crazy Squirtle build from yesteryear where
oh my God,
the 2-base 3-3 with 3 Colossus. It's very kind of reminiscent of that.
Yeah, and that's one where you just continually try to outmaneuver your opponent.
And it looks like, again, this is what I like about Polt, though. Look at that mini-map. Oh, God. Thank you.
My God. Apollo
Thank you, Apollo.
Points out to us.
That's 6 rangeless Colossus.
Yes.
What?
He does not have Thermal Lance. Oh, I'm so sad right now.
Shout out to Apollo. I did not see that. Holy crap. He came over, he sat on my lap, gave a little wiggle, and he pointed that out, and I can't believe what I'm looking at.
Well,
and Deer's going to be so sad.
All right, let's quick question for you. Are 6 rangeless Colossus as good as 3 ranged Colossus?
I think the answer's not.
I think it's not.
When the Marauders start hitting your Colossus and you're like, wait a second, what the hell is going on?
Don't forget he has 11 Vikings.
Oh, God.
Wow.
All right, so it comes down to the upgrades then, because again, this is a massive Protoss army with sick upgrades.
Well, it's going to be 3-3 against 1-1.
It will be 3-3.
But it's going to be 2-1 during the battle at some point, perhaps.
And I'll tell you what, Polt's getting hit right now in a way he doesn't want to. Back, if you looked at the third, we have a bit of a counterattack going, but there's enough charge loss there with fantastic upgrades. They're going to hold, go to the main fight. Good positioning. The Colossus are all dying without doing anything, and Polt is just kiting backwards. These Protoss units are super buff, but is there enough?
Well, he's actually got them all split up right now. Like, the Colossus weren't attacking the ground units. The Zealots were fighting alone, but he's still pushing him back. Deer's upgrade is really paying off.
The Colossus is getting hit by the missile turret, but it's still just going to be good enough. Deer pushes forward for the win. I can't believe it's 6 rangeless Colossus.
6 rangeless Colossus. Wow. You know what?
Oh, my God.
Now I'm going to ask you a question in control. Could Deer have not gotten range on purpose to fit that 6th Colossus?
That's a fantastic
question. The extra
Artosis.
200 gas.
The answer is yes, of course. That's what happened. We're having the game change right before our very eyes. Ladies and gentlemen at home, I expect you to check out this 6 rangeless Colossus build. If you think you can get that 6 Colossus, you know?
Now the counter to this, of course, is mass missile turrets. Polt just had the one, and it did kill one of the Colossus. But if he had 5, 6 at the front, how could he have even engaged?
All right, getting away from the mistake here a little bit, as we can see that. Let's talk about it from this angle, Artosis. Deer's build was so far ahead that even without range, he still stomped over Polt.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of what happened in this game was A, the upgrade advantage obviously was a very, very big deal, but B, Polt sometimes he lives and dies by either having half his army outside of his base and creating that chaos, or he dies because the medevacs are getting picked off, the counterattacks are not doing any damage, and if you can defend against Polt's harass, he doesn't seem to be very strong about that center mass shot that came out from the Protoss army.
I have to agree with you on that. It's not his type of game. So we'll see if Deer can do that again. But first, we're going to go ahead and jump to a really quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with the deciding game.
Don't go anywhere.